You ever hear the expression, no plan survives first contact with the enemy? Feel like that applies here. Alright, so it's been a bit. And I'll be frank with you, not a lot has been done. But a lot of thinking has been done. And I think that that counts for something. At least I hope it does. So, let me tell you a story. Story of Nick, many years ago, almost 10 years ago, coming up with an idea for a strategy game. You see, I really like RTS games, but I'm not an overly competitive player. And by that I don't mean that I don't like competition, by that I mean I'm bad. And what I've always enjoyed in my RTS games is team play. But I find that most normally played games in the RTS space consist of chess simulacrum, is what I like to call it. Which is where two people duke it out with maximum wins, right? But even when you inject two teams into that, 2v2s and 3v3s, it's still just three people. It's 1v1 but times 3, and sometimes you'll help your neighbor out. There's no real incentive to be a team player. It really all kind of went boom in my lap when Overwatch came out, an FPS game, heralding from the sort of hero shooter archetype that it sort of ended up cementing. I liked how that was pretty good at the lower levels, the levels I was playing at convincing you to try to be part of a team. And had lots of great systems built in to encourage that, such as, the defined classes, telling you when you need something fulfilled, and rewarding the player for doing those things. This started a project that I codenamed Element many, many years ago. And Element was an attempt to have a look at RTS games, but with the kind of team-based play that is applied to MOBAs and hero shooters and so on. Flash forward till now, and you'll notice I'm not making that game. I was making something else. And that's because I thought to myself, well, I'll prototype several different ones first, and eventually I'll get to that one. That's the one that I want to make. But I came to realize that it really didn't matter that much doing the prototyping. Obviously, any project needs prototyping, but to make a game or two games before I get to this game, in theory works great, but doesn't quite apply the same way because of how much work it is just to get an RTS off the ground. Let me give you a peek behind the curtain here. Unreal comes with a bunch of preset game prototypes built in. They're all very simple, and they certainly are not, hey, click a button and make a game. But what they do have is a lot of functionality for it. So if I was to be making a first-person shooter game, it would make a ton of sense to make a series of small first-person shooter games before I make my big one, right? Because I can just go use the first-person shooter template, bring in these things, boom, bam, done. However, there is nothing in Unreal about RTSs, about top-down, unit control, anything. So it makes it kind of challenging to iterate full prototypes over and over and over again, because I have to do the same thing over and over and over again, improving on it every time. There's no basis for it, and none of the tools are there. So I kind of feel like the best call is to bring all of my ideas together and try to implement them in the big one. But start by making the big one into pieces. So there's always something being delivered. So the project that I explained a few videos ago, Frontlines, is actually just going to be a game mode in Project Element, which that won't be its final name. That's the working project title. And what I've been doing for the past couple months now has largely been building out that game fundamentally, like writing down, documenting, creating factions and units and systems, so I know and have an idea of how all this stuff is going to work with my newfound knowledge in programming, however little of it might be. I also made some discoveries that are going to make things a lot easier and less headache inducing for me, which is that I need to be a lot less particular about unit movement and just code the damn myself. None of this AI stuff, none of this AI controller nonsense. I'm just writing it straight in the blueprint and calling it a day. I believe that will probably be the best call. So unfortunately, I don't have much to show you today, but I think it's important to remember, like, you can have the best intentions and the greatest plans, but you have to be ready to change them, because sometimes that's what's probably best. And I don't know if this is going to work, but I am willing to give it a try. And hopefully it can become a platform for any other RTS related ventures I want to pursue in the future. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to make the 5th prototype project in Unreal Engine 5, and I'm going to shut my fucking computer up because it's constantly screaming at me. Alright, I'll see you next time. There is nothing... I live in a fucking server farm between these two fucking computers, I swear to God. Work computer screams at me, personal computer screams at me. There we go, shut them both up.